G'day everyone, Scott here again, talking about the 2019 federal election. I'm trying a different format today. I'm using YouTube Live, which I'll then post a link to Facebook just to see, how that compares to doing a video straight to Facebook, whether that seems to, help people see it, etc. So tell me what you think. Obviously, I'm posting them to YouTube anyway, and this is just an easier way to do it. Takes less steps than trying to do it the other way around. So today I want to talk about the proposed tax rates that the Liberal Party made in the budget this year and how that affects people, the distribution of that, and maybe just talk a little bit about the truth of how that affects people at different rates. So there's a few misnomers and deceptions that are primarily perpetrated by the Labor Party, but also others on the left that would try to make it seem like that if you're earning X, over a certain amount, you're somehow ripping off the poor people in the country, which is just not true. So the first thing is in the description, in the comments later, I'm going to post a screenshot that I got off the Liberal Party budget website that talks about the different ranges, and I'm going to briefly describe them, what I think they mean and if they're important or not. So if you're earning up to $37,000, you'll get up to $255 tax relief. Now, I think these numbers are in terms of yearly tax relief, not obviously weekly. You probably aren't paying that much tax a week at the $37,000 rate. That affects about 2.3 million Australians or taxpayers. In the next range, you go from $37,001 a year to $47,999. That's approximately 1.7 million Australian taxpayers. And the relief there is somewhere between $255 and $1,080, depending on how much you actually earn. So obviously, if you earned the $37,001 a year, you'd be down at the lower end of that bracket, and if you were at the other end, you'd be getting the $1,080. The third bracket is the $48,000 to $90,000 bracket, which is about 4.5 million Australian taxpayers, and they get the full $1,080 per year tax break. Now, these changes too, it should be, it's important to say that the lowering of the tax rate from 32.5% to 30%, etc., doesn't take place for another 4 or 5 years because governments of all stripes like to project well past the next election, which I'm not a fan of in general. I think we're electing them for a 3-year period, and I think they should really, as much as it's possible, talk about what they can do in the next 3 years. Now, obviously, some things, infrastructure, etc., will take longer than 3 years, so they can't really say limit, a major infrastructure plan that might take 7 or 8 years to build to the next 3 years. But obviously, the process would start in the next election period. The next government parliament period, and then would spill over to the next one. And then the last tax bracket, just going off on a tangent there, and the last tax bracket is the $19,001 to the $126,000 a year. That's about 1.6 million Australian taxpayers, and you'll get somewhere between $1,080 to $0. So it's sort of the reverse to the second bracket, which is the more you earn over $90,001, the less tax you'll get, and anyone who's earning over $126,000 a year doesn't get a tax break at all. So there's a few things I want to talk about. The first one is people look at the dollar sums and compare them and say they're uneven. So they say, well, if you're only going to get $255 a year tax break because you're under $37,000, that's not fair. If my friend down the road is on $90,000, he gets $1,080. Why don't I get $1,080? Because it's a percentage of your pay. It's not comparing apples with apples if you say purely in dollar terms. It's about the percentage. Now, if you have 2.5% of your tax is reduced, of course, if you earn more money, that's more dollars that we're talking about. But the important thing is it's the same exact tax level for the person of $37,000 as in $90,000. And I think it's really unfair to try and suggest that it's somehow ripping off poor people. And somehow it's the government's or society's responsibility, if you do earn less than $37,000, to prop them up more financially than someone who's on $90,000. What the government should be doing is creating an environment which allows business to grow, which means that people can upskill themselves and earn more money through improving their skill sets. But that's another video. The next thing to consider is the bulk of Australian taxpayers earn less than $90,000. I think the average Australian income is around about $80,000 a year, or something similar to that. So the bulk of taxpayers are going to get the maximum in dollar terms in this tax break. But again, everyone from $0, well, not $0 because they pay tax of $0, but everyone from the lowest tax bracket through to the $90,000 range is going to get 2.5% tax break, which is a good thing. The other thing that I really want to touch on, and it's something that isn't reported on properly on news cycles and news stations, in my opinion, is the bulk of Australian income tax is paid by the top 20% of income earners. And I'm talking, I can't remember the exact statistics, but it's an overwhelming amount of the Australian income tax is paid by that bracket. Now, some of these people are earning $1 million a year, obviously, in that top bracket, and if they're paying 37.5% of $1 million, that's a substantial amount of money, more than, say, if you're on $50,000. But to say that they somehow should be taxed higher or pay for more people at the lower end of the tax bracket to have a lower tax is really unfair. These people don't earn those levels of income by accident. They go out and they earn it through working hard, whether it be getting an education and becoming a doctor or a CEO or a solicitor, or they go into their own business and they work hard to build that business to a point where they can earn that sort of money. I feel like it's time we started to respect that very high end of the wage or the income bracket that pay a huge amount of our taxes in the income tax field. If we were to remove them, say, just as a thought exercise, we would go bankrupt as a country overnight. That's how much tax they pay. If you're interested, I can research it a bit more and find out some numbers for you, just so you have a bit more of an accurate thing. But I really want to, my main point is we need to, as a society, stop attacking people who are successful. The tall poppy syndrome in Australia is horrendous. And that's part of the problem with this whole tax thing. The Labor government, our Labor Party, are proposing a scare tactic against the tax proposal by the Liberal Party, based on the whole, well, if you're only earning $37,000, you're being ripped off by the people who earn $90,000. It's just really unfair. It's disingenuous and an outright lie, to be honest. And it's time that the Australian people really understood how the whole thing works. It's a basic misunderstanding about what percentages mean. Anyway, there's my rant for this afternoon. Again, let me know what you think of the YouTube version versus the Facebook Live version, and I'll talk to you. Actually, I will talk to you tomorrow. I don't think I'll talk to you on Good Friday, being Good Friday, and I may not talk to you on Sunday for the same reason as a Christian. I know I don't. It just feels like I should do those things. Mind you, I eat red meat on Good Friday, so I don't know what that says about me as a Christian. All right, guys, good to chat to you, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.